Well, welcome back to the studio. I'm going to finish up this Santa Fe painting with doing the hollyhocks. I've finished out the geraniums, and I already, when I painted the wall, I went ahead and cast shadows from the hollyhocks onto the wall. So now I'm ready to paint these hollyhocks. I'm going to use mixes of permanent rose plus white. And permanent rose is just a beautiful pink color that I use for bougainvilleas and hollyhocks and just wherever I want a really good bright pink color. I'm also, right now I'm mixing a little bit of magenta plus liquid, and I'm going to use that for the centers. Get that mixed up. I get all of my paint mixed before I begin. That way I can just go ahead and paint and not have to worry about mixing. I don't have to stop and do that. First thing I'm going to do is block in the blossoms of my hollyhocks. I paint the blossoms first and then I paint the flowers. Flowers first, leaves last. Some of these are kind of going to go behind the geraniums. And then I'll have a few pop kind of in front of them. They're sort of surrounding that big pot, big terracotta pot. I have a little branch of the, or stem of the hollyhocks coming out here, just in front of that pot. Gives depth to the painting when you have overlapping objects. That's a stem that's real low. These are beautiful flowers. I wish I have never been able to grow hollyhocks. And I don't know if it's something I'm doing or if we've not lived in the right places, but never have I been successful growing them. But I sure enjoy them when we go to Santa Fe. This fall and the summertime, they are just absolutely awesome. Now I have saved my colors from the building, my Adobe color, so I can come back in and paint on that wall. My paint will stay out on the palette for 2 or 3 days and is still very, very usable. If it gets a little crust on the top of it or a little film, I can just go ahead and break through that and get down to the paint underneath. Now I'm going to use my larger bright brush. This is a square brush, and there's a difference in the square brushes. There's a flat brush that also has a square head and the bright. The flat brush the bristles are a little bit longer. I prefer the bright because I don't like the bristles quite so long. So now I'm going to start blocking in my greens. These are mixtures of phthalo blue plus the cadmium yellow medium. This gives me a little warmer green. The geranium foliage is phthalo blue plus lemon yellow, and that's cooler. So this warmer green will come in front of the cooler green in the geraniums. It's not real pronounced, but it's very subtle. Also using a little mixture of phthalo blue plus liquid to just give me a cool dark in the shadows of the hollyhock foliage. Now this one breaks out in front of that pot. And I'm going to let the hollyhocks just go off the bottom of the canvas. They're just a whole group of them here along this, in front of the pot there. So they just break out and go off the bottom of the canvas. A little leaf there. The flat edge of this brush really makes those leaves very nicely. Now I'm going to come back and take some of my terracotta pot color and come back in here and show a little bit of that pot through the leaves. Just again helps to give dimension to the painting. And take some of my red from the geraniums and pop back in there. That just gives that overlapping, which gives the feeling of depth in the painting. Go back to my bigger brush. I also have a little mixture of phthalo blue plus white, and that just gives me some coolness in the foliage, in the shadows of the foliage. If you look at plants, the leaves are just not all the same shade of green. There's lots of variation in them. And I mix up several shades. Sometimes I'll even pick up a couple of different shades on my brush. And that gives me some variation when I'm working in my foliage. Now I'm going to come back up here and do some of my wall color in here because I want some openings. The tops of the hollyhocks are pretty lacy, so you see the building behind the flowers and the stems, big tall upright stems. And if you'll notice, I keep cleaning out my brush. This is the secret to having nice clean color on your canvas. You should keep your brush clean. And I dip it in the thinner, swish it around, and then I clean it out with toilet tissue. And I don't hang on to the toilet tissue very long, because if you do, you end up getting paint back into your brush and get it all over yourself and ends up on your face and your hands. And so don't hang on to the tissue very long. Now I'm coming back and adding a few little highlights on these hollies. And these up here really catch the light. So they're even going to be lighter. They're catching that sunlight streaming in. And that flat edge, this again is a bright brush, and the flat edge just gives me a nice broad brush stroke. But then I can also use the corner to make a thinner stroke. Just a few little buds there from the side. If you look at the plants, not all the flowers are just straight on, so you have to kind of give some dimension to those flowers. This guy's going to be a couple back here in shadow. Some of the leaves are coming back over them, so they'll be darker. Just the bottom part of this blossom is going to catch a little light. It's catching some light here. This one's going to catch some sun coming across, as is this one. That light's just tipping over the tops of those flowers, so they'll catch just a little light right there. Now this lower blossom will be in shadow, so it won't be as bright. Think of light as if it's being water poured out of a bucket, and anything it touches is going to be light or highlighted. Just splashing across the canvas. Okay, I want to come back to a little bit larger brush. And a few more leaves in here, just nice broad strokes. And again, you can see I picked up several colors on my brush. And that just gives me, I see that little stripe, you kind of get some really nice variations in there. Okay, this is a little bit of my phthalo blue plus white. Those variations make the painting interesting. Now I'm taking a little bit of my magenta plus liquid and making the centers. Use a little bit smaller brush. That one's just a little bit big. This gives me my centers, those deep centers in the hollyhocks. In those centers, there's just a slight little yellow stamen right in the center. We'll add those in just a second. I'm wiping my brush each time. Now we'll add the little stamens in there. This is just, in the darker ones, I'm using some of my chair mixture. It's cadmium yellow medium plus a little bit of mud. Well, that's too dark, so I'm just going to use cadmium yellow medium right here. Cadmium yellow medium in there. That's for the ones in the shadow areas. Now these brighter ones, the ones up in the light, I'm going to use the cadmium yellow medium plus a little bit of white. See how those pop? The sun's catching them. This one here will be a little bit darker. Now we'll put the tall stalks on. I love the tall stalks on hollyhocks. All the little seed pods. I'm going to make these a little bit darker so you can see them. Those stalks are not always just straight up and down. It makes it more interesting if you kind of give them a little wiggle here and there. I'm coming down a little bit darker in here. And then you can see stems where I've coming in front of the wall there in the open spaces. See some of the stems. Now right here, this stalk is going to come up right in front of that blossom. And then this stem down here is going to come up in front of the geraniums. Let's see right back there. We're going to have some darker stems. Here's one here. I vary that. I use some different shades. Get a little variation. And then we'll have a little taller one over here. You don't want them all the same height. I'm going to let's put a tall one here. Let it come up between these. It's coming back from behind. Then we'll have another over here. That goes off the edge of the canvas. Okay, there's our hollyhocks. I appreciate you watching my YouTube videos. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to see the entire step-by-step process of this painting as well as the others that I do, please visit my blog. The address is www.mickeysenkarik.wordpress.com. The address is on the final frame of my video as well as in the description below. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I really appreciate you visiting. And please always feel free to ask questions in the comments section.